Hey everybody, welcome. I see you coming in here. Sorry, my little phone's buzzing. I've got to get ready to turn off here in a second. It's nice to have you guys. Welcome. We'll get going here in just a minute. Great to have everyone here tonight, though. I hope you're all having a great Tuesday. Spring is sprung in many places. I'm in Florida, so it's just always kind of here. Welcome, welcome. We'll get going in about 1-2 minutes or so. Great to have everyone here. We always have lots of people, honestly, from around the world. So it's great to have all of you here today. We'll get going in about a minute or so. Okay. Hey, let's get going. It is 7:30. I like to start on time. So we're going to get going. I'm going to just give you guys a little bit of a heads up. I have 3 beautiful children. They're 8, 5, and 3. And it's going to be bedtime in my house in about 30 minutes. And the 3-year-old on occasion likes to come talk under the door to me. Hopefully he won't tonight. If you hear a little noise, mom, dad is out there and he's taking care of him so I can join you here tonight. Just to start out, you don't have to, but if you want to drop in the chat where you're from, I love to see where people are from, and we can go from there. Kansas, hello from Kansas. We're gonna watch Wizard of Oz this weekend. So I gotta show my kids Emerald City. Denver, I love Denver. I'm actually originally from Utah, from the West, so I love the West and miss the Rockies. Great to have all of you guys here tonight. Thank you for taking time to join us. Okay, let's go ahead and get going. If you want to drop in the chat where you're from, that's awesome. And let's go. So, let me turn that off. We got a little bit of a glare. So, what we're going to talk about tonight is what to eat. It's a huge question, the most common question we get at our practice. I want to introduce a little bit what we're doing, and just hopefully you can get to know us a little bit and come away from this feeling uplifted, hopeful, and with some really strong actionable points that you can start with today. So thank you so much for coming. Just so you know who I am, my name is Jess. I'm a renal dietitian. I've been a dietitian for a long time. 2006, I guess, is when I graduated college. So nephrology has always been my focus. Honestly, even when I worked in the hospital for a little bit, my first job was in inner city Baltimore. Really interesting place to work. And I covered the kidney floor, and it didn't take me long to move out just to nephrology. So I'm really excited to be here. As you guys know, you came on to the Kidney RD website, which is my website. You're going to see, I'm sorry, my C is a little bit off. You're going to see another brand on the slides tonight, and that's Kidney Nutrition Institute. In about 2 weeks, our organization is rebranding. When I started the Kidney RD, it was just me. It was a solo practice. And I quickly learned that in order for us to really make to really budge nephrology into using nutrition, it needed to be far more collaborative. So we're a larger group of dietitians that are really trying to make a difference. So without further ado and jibber jabber, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I saw California pop in there too. Hi, California. That's where my mom grew up, in Los Angeles. Just so you guys know, I will take questions at the end. Feel free to drop them in the chat or in the Q&A. I look at both of those places, but I lose my train of thought super easy. And so I'm not going to grab the questions until the end. And then I will be happy to take and answer any questions that are appropriate for tonight. All right, so what do I eat? We are going to flesh out some awesome things. I hope really resolve some big confusion points in the nephrology space and give you guys some clear actionables. And hopefully, maybe, I really hope you have a vision of seeing food as nourishing and joyful again, instead of as a huge albatross around your neck. So I feel like a lot of people, they're like, hey, while pursuing my health, I have lost my life. And that is not true health, nor is it a great way to live. So let's just clear this up from the beginning. Does nutrition really make a difference? Obviously, you guys believe that. That's why you're here tonight. You want to be proactive. The people that work with us in our practice, they want to be proactive. They want to do whatever they can to change the course of kidney disease. And so I can just say, from working with hundreds of patients over the last 8 years, that nutrition makes a difference. I can say that with full 100% confidence. If you get the right diet and the right mindset in place, we believe in both, it can make a huge difference. I firmly believe that it is a foundational treatment for kidney disease. It is just such an incredible therapy. So just hello from all of our team. I'm going to move this out of the way. We have quite a robust team. I'm not going to tell you all of them, but just want to highlight a few people in our practice. So Jennifer Zanetti is a functional integrative dietitian up in Canada. She is one of a kind. We're really happy to add a Canadian dietitian, Diana Bruin. Anyone here with polycystic kidney disease may know her. She has been one of the pioneers of our plant-focused ketogenic approach. And it's amazing to work with her. Grace is our pediatric dietitian that we just added in. We're really excited to have peds. Jennifer Moore wrote the book Plant-Fed Kidneys. She is so passionate about plant-based diets. She lives a plant-based lifestyle. And if you specifically want to learn how to eat a plant-based diet, she will not only be your best friend, but she will cheerlead you to the end. She is just incredible. She is full of enthusiasm. Clarissa is one of our dietitians. She's kind of more behind the scenes in Indonesia. Lindsay is one of our amazing integrative dietitians. Nicole, I feel like I'm missing someone here. Nicole is our mindset coach for our patients, just helping people get out of their way. Mindset is powerful really powerful on a health journey. And I'll talk just a little bit about that tonight. Nicole is awesome. So what we're going to cover, I want to clear up some big misconceptions. I feel like if there's one giant service I can do for you tonight is really clear up some misconceptions. I want to make sure you can know how you're going to frame out some things on protein, potassium, and phosphorus. Really important conversation to have. 3 things you can start today. You don't need a dietitian to start these. You can just start this today, no matter where you're at in your journey. They're absolutely fundamental, and it's somewhere you can start. And then I'll just share a little bit of what it's like to work with our team of experts. So let's talk about confusion. I actually really love this video. When I found it, I thought it was very true to the story that I hear from so probably every single patient I've ever talked to, not all of them, but like 90% of them, is that they get on the internet. And seriously, if you want to talk about confusion, look at the Renal Diet on the internet. It has everything from no potassium, no phosphorus, no salt, no protein, no oxalates. Be keto, don't be keto, eat plant-based, but don't eat nuts and beans, get a very low protein diet, make sure you have keto analogs, don't make sure you have keto analogs, get prol, follow OREC, and on top of that, you're anemic. And it is just layer after layer after layer after layer. And honestly, most people, they feel frustrated because they want to do something, but it's just not clear what thing is actually going to make a difference. Not everyone, but a lot of people get really watered down information from their physician, or if they've seen a local dietitian, it's kind of been really, you just feel like it's a cookie cutter approach. They tell that to everyone, you know, okay, we'll cut back your salt and, you know, eat less protein. And you just feel like, is that it? That's all I can do? There's nothing else for me. And a lot of people really feel intuitively that there's more. Well, there's definitely more you can do. So if you feel this way, or if you've been online and this has been your experience, you are 100% not alone. What has happened over the years is that in the medical literature, when I was a dietitian in school, like over 15 years ago, we're taught, quote unquote, the renal diet. And that is, if you have, you know, any patient with kidney disease, they're going to have a modified protein, phosphorus, sodium approach, and that's what you're going to dig into. Hold on, I'm going to just shut my other door real quick. That's what gave you fair warning. If any of you have 3-year-olds, they're like super fun, but they have got a super mind of their own. So what has happened is that people have written articles, just nutrition professionals, maybe not in the renal space, they have perpetuated this myth that everybody with kidney disease needs to watch potassium. Everyone with kidney disease has to cut out all these foods that have phosphorus in them. Everyone with kidney disease has to, and you know, the story goes on like that, which has led to a massive amount of incorrect information that is not supported by current guidelines. The current guidelines from 2020 from KDOKI, which is the kind of researchers who research the research from National Kidney Foundation, they do not support a across-the-board potassium restriction for everyone, and I'll talk more about that in a second. Phosphorus should be individualized, and anyways, ton of just really poor information online for patients. We're going to clear that up tonight, though. So I will tell you, 100% the best therapy, it depends on you, and I want to show that to you tonight, how you can start framing it out, give you a little peek into our dietitian brain on this. The right renal diet depends on you, depends on your kidney function. It depends on your story, your health story, your symptoms. It depends on your underlying cause. There is not one nutrition plan that is right for every single person with kidney disease. There just isn't. And anyone who tells you otherwise doesn't understand the science, and they don't understand the disease. So let's talk about what does make a difference. Now this slide, you look at it and you're like, whoa, there's a ton of stuff. That's a good thing. So when you look at nutrition opportunities for kidney disease, you have things that are going to prevent complications. What that means is that when kidneys decline, some things can get out of balance. It doesn't always mean that those things are going to cause further decline. It just means that the kidneys balance some things out. Now, the stars of the renal diet, as you know, on the internet are potassium and phosphorus. And those are not really even great nutrition opportunities to preserve function, which is the other arm of the nutrition therapy. So preventing complications is, something important, something to be conscientious of. It gets all the attention because if you're on dialysis, you got to know these for sure. But it doesn't translate to everyone with kidney disease. And a lot of people, they end up focusing on that because that's all that they hear about. Low potassium diet, low phosphorus, low potassium, low phosphorus. They hear that on the internet all the time, low sodium. And it's a really huge mistake because you can be on the lowest potassium diet you want and your kidneys can still peter out if you don't really address what's going on with it. 100%. Potassium doesn't even hurt your kidneys. If anything, for some people, it's really helpful for them because it helps control their blood pressure. So preventing complications, it's something to be aware of, but this is not the whole story. And this is why people can get super frustrated with, I'm doing everything I can. I changed my diet and my kidney function is still declining. It's because they don't understand this. You can take any of these pieces and put it in Google Scholar, where they have the medical science research, and you will find that there is a strong connection with progression of kidney disease. Okay, so a couple of things to know about this. I'm going to go through these quickly, and I'm going to go through all of them because I want to just flesh out again what current renal diet and what you should be thinking about. Sodium in fluid, this is the one thing, it's consistent, it's fairly right on the internet. Just to know though that no sodium is not better than low sodium. Some foods need a little bit of salt and no sodium is not good for anyone. Some people are very salt sensitive and some people aren't. That's something, that it should be individualized. Gut health, this is a big piece. I remember one of our early patients, she'd had IBS for like 20 years. She's like, I didn't tell my doctor about it, my nephrologist, or even my PCP, because I didn't know what they would do about it. They're just going to throw a med at me. And part of her story was actually healing her gut to get her kidney disease under control. But even if you don't have any gut issues, not burping, bloated, constipated, this still is something to pay attention to because the microbiome in your gut is a major driver of inflammation and health. And there's some smart strategies you can do. Protein, this is one that's gotten a lot more attention, thank goodness, in the last few years. It comes down to not just, this is another confusion point, how much protein. If you follow very low protein diets, keto analogs, they got a shout out in 2020 from Kdoki. We were already using them since 2018 when they came back on the American market. Been used in Europe for quite a long time, over 15 years or so. A lot of the research on them comes from there. So the amount of protein is important. Not everyone has to have a serious protein restriction, but for some people it's the right way to go. And the type of protein makes a difference. We love plant-based diets. We utilize fully plant-based diets. We have a plant-based diet expert on our team. That is all she does, is she works with people on adopting plant-based diets. We fully and 100% realize and can pick out now, they're not right for every single person. They just are not. There are some pieces that don't work for some people on plant-based diets, but they can be a good starting point. How many plants and the acid load is important to us. Looking at the overall toxin load is important to us. Your kidneys are one of your 5 filters in the body. They're a very important filter. And there are some toxins in our regular environment that you want to watch out for. Inflammation, big, broad topic, but a huge piece. Anemia, looking at the micronutrients, vitamin and minerals really plays into this. And then thyroid health, thyroid problems are crazy prevalent in the kidney world. And that is associated very strongly with the decline. Hard to say what the chicken or the egg is, but the thyroid and the kidneys they're tight. And so getting a very good diagnosis of thyroid disease is important. One of my patients, I collaborate with a functional doctor who's working with her, and he did great thyroid workup on her and got her on the right hormones, the right thyroid stuff. And she was so relieved because she could finally sleep at night. And she had normalized insomnia in her life, or her lack of ability to get to sleep. That's just something that happens because of age. And I love this physician, Dr. Morgan Camp. He said to her, because we do the visits together, he says, it's interesting in America how much we have normalized sickness, but you can have some health. So anyways, that's a really, really good thing for her. On the other side, I know we have some folks here with polycystic kidney disease. This is one of our specialty areas. We've been one of the pioneers in advocating for understanding better ketosis and ketogenic approaches. We've pioneered that therapy. I have to give tons and tons of credit to Diana Bruin on our team for that. But these are a couple other opportunities from the literature that are important. When you look at all this, depending on your disease state is where the priority is. If you have autoimmune, I honestly feel like gut health and inflammation are the priorities, probably over protein. If you have PKD, I think understanding if keto is going to work for you or not, or the principles behind carbohydrates is going to be really important for you. Again, probably over protein. So there are priorities in how you put this together that are so individualized. So to go back to my point here, the best therapy, it depends on you, because there are lots of amazing opportunities to improve your kidney function and transform your health overall. But it's very much about you and your story. That's the type of therapy that we do in our practice. Nothing is cookie cutter. It is dependent on you and understanding your story. It's a different approach than other places. Some people are all plant-based. That's what they do. People come in, it's a fully plant-based diet. That's how they work. Some people we teach you potassium, phosphorus. That's how they work. For us, that didn't jive well, and I didn't feel like it gave us good outcomes. So we work a little bit differently. And I'm, honestly really proud of that. So a couple things. Let's talk about the difference between these two diets to just flesh this out. And I hope that you can come to the internet, Facebook groups, anywhere where you're engaged with new eyes on what this means. So the quote unquote renal diet is all about just preventing complications, right? So no potassium, potatoes, tomatoes, bananas, mangoes. This is what is usually taught. If you Google like renal diet, best diet for kidney disease in Google, it pops up like top 15 foods to avoid if you have kidney disease. And they got avocados and bananas and potatoes and sweet potatoes, all these healthy foods you thought you should be able to eat, and you're not sure you can eat them anymore. No phosphorus, which usually comes down to no nuts, no beans, no whole grains, no dark Carla sodas. And instead, what you should be eating is really gross processed white foods, because that's obviously healthier, which it is not. Another hugely wrong perpetuated myth. Low sodium, whatever that means. A lot of times they don't clarify, and people just are like, I'll cut out as much salt as possible, and then maybe protein. What we believe is that you should be conscious of potassium if needed. How do you know? If your potassium is high on your blood work, running probably over 5, you may need to be conscientious of where you're getting too much potassium, but it's not even all dietary driven. So we are conscientious of potassium if needed, but if not needed, if your potassium is normal, including high potassium foods is really important. The best research on blood pressure, the DASH diet, heart disease was not about a low sodium diet. It was about a low sodium, high potassium diet. And blood pressure is a big, big, big cause of decline in kidney disease. Please talk with your doctor about this if you're not quite sure where you fit, or your dietitian. I don't have your labs in front of me, but I will 100% say that This is the most common mistake. It's the most common over restriction, and liberalizing this for people makes their life a lot easier. We believe in getting the right type of FOS. So nuts, beans, whole grains. If you've heard to be on a plant-based diet and then you're heard like no nuts, no beans, no whole grains, you're left with like vegetables and tofu, vegetables and rice. That's A, not filling. B, it's totally nutrient deficient. There are no minimal minerals in that. So for nuts, beans, and whole grains, that phosphorus is bound up in the fiber of the food. You don't absorb all of it. You absorb less phosphorus from beans than you do from meat. You absorb less phosphorus from legumes than you would from cheese. So the phosphorus that are in those very healthy foods, the nuts, the beans, the whole grains, those ones are ones that I think everyone should add back in if they have taken them out. I don't see any reason to take them out. Even when I worked in dialysis or people have no kidney function, we added them back in. So any list that eliminates nuts, beans, or whole grains, unless they're doing it for another reason like oxalates, is flat out incorrect. It is old, antiquated information that has been perpetuated by someone who didn't understand the current research. Right amount of sodium. We do about 1,500 to 2,300 milligrams per day, a little bit dependent on the person. I have a couple of people who sodium doesn't impact them. There's a certain genetic profile, about 10% of the population. Sodium's not a driver for them, but most people it's prudent. And 2,300 milligrams of sodium, you can have a pretty robust normal diet with that. We target protein with the right amount and the right quality. That is a diet focused on preserving function. We really love to target a very alkaline diet with fruits and vegetables. I think that's really key. Metabolic acidosis is a big deal. It's a big deal for your bones, your heart, your blood vessels, and your kidneys. And the fruits and vegetables are one of the really strong strategies. It sounds cliche, I know. I'm a dietitian, like eat fruits and veggies, but it makes a big difference in the research, and it's actually has some really good studies on it from Dr. Weston, I think, out in Texas. Couple other things. So we look at all these other pieces: anemia, micronutrients, thyroid, environmental toxins, inflammation, individual genetics, mind, body health. All of these, and I'm sorry, I had to cut, my slide was getting low. I had to focus on these tops. These are not less important just because they're all in one bullet point. Every single one of these is important, and there are things that you can look at. So, okay. So let's just talk about a couple of things, because I promised you I would clarify for you how you know how much. So potassium, how much should you have? If you need a potassium restriction, you really should work with a dietitian to make sure that you flesh that out a little bit further. I'm going to give you a list here in just a second. You usually don't have to count it. You just have to be able to focus on your lower potassium foods to start and see where your blood levels fall out. Otherwise, potassium doesn't hurt your kidneys. You don't have to restrict it if you don't have to. Phosphorus. So FOS naturally occurs in plant foods. We don't restrict those, but we do restrict where there is chemical phosphates added. I just put up this example here. Sorry for the resolution on this graphic. This is, coconut yogurt alternative. A lot of people on plant-based love to use this. First ingredient is organic coconut milk. Organic must mean it's healthy, right? And so you read through this, but you can see here it has calcium phosphate added, dipotassium phosphate added. So this one has 2 chemical phosphates added to it, 2 phosphate additives into this food that looks otherwise pretty solid. So this is one that I would avoid, and I would look for a different brand. And there are some that don't have phosphate additives. You'll see phosphorus added to crackers, baking mixes, breads, beverages are very, very common. Anything that's in a box, bottled in a jar, I would look for it. Even minced garlic in a jar, I've seen phosphorus added to it. And sometimes it's so simple just to switch out the brand for something different. Like you want to eliminate as much as possible these inorganic phosphates. They are 100% absorbed by your body very quickly. They don't do anyone any favors. Other than that, we don't put heavy restrictions on phosphorus. I mean, our patients aren't drinking a bunch of beer, eating excessive amounts of chocolate, but they can fit in the right way. And then dairy just depends on their approach. So sodium, no, is not better than low. And then protein, like I said, is really individualized, going to give you some really broad guidelines in just a second. So a couple big takeaways. Hopefully you can leave this and be a little bit more confident shoppers like these people here. So like I said, know your potassium level, less than 5. You likely don't need a restriction, but definitely talk to your doctor. And if it's greater than 5, you want to figure out why. It's not just diet. There's constipation, metabolic acidosis. Find out why and use the dietary restriction as kind of a bridge until you can figure out more why you've got an imbalance in your electrolytes. Phosphorus, nuts, beans, whole grains are a-okay for most people. Watch out for phos additives. We talked about that. Dairy, beer, chocolate. Sodium, no, is not better than low. A little bit goes a long way. I think that beans without a tiny bit of salt are basically torture. So I hope you're not eating that. Beans, I hope you include some beans for the right person. But beans without salt are really not very palatable. For protein, if your GFR is less than 20, a lot of times we'll talk about a very low protein diet. That can be a good approach. We don't use that with ketogenic approaches for PKD. We've worked with I think the lowest GFR I worked with, his GFR was 3. And he knew he couldn't keep his kidney function forever, but he really wanted to get a transplant and not start dialysis. And so we kept him off dialysis for 1.5 years, and he got his transplant. So I don't know how long he would have been able to stay off, but he felt good. We have had other people, the GFR started at, 9, went up to 20, so it can improve. If you have a really low GFR, then this is something that we have a pretty honest conversation about. And we do encourage our patients, really low GFRs, at least to prep for transplant, even if that is not our goal, because it's always good to have that in your back pocket. It's quite a process. PKD, plant-focused keto, it's something we discussed, very individual, not always the right first step for everyone, but it is an option and something that we have built a ton of resources around. We walk through a 12-week program with our patients that do this, lots and lots of support around it. And people love the food. It's fat, tastes pretty good. They love the food, and our dietitians are amazing that do this. If your GFR is greater than 20, consider plant-based. Oh, it cut off my thing at the bottom, but understand that's not a solve-all. It can work great for some people, a good starting point. If you have autoimmune kidney disease, again, your protein is going to be very individualized depending on what we're targeting. So just real quick on potassium, if you need to follow a low potassium diet, we have this handout on our website. You can grab it for free. What I recommend for people that need to focus on potassium, just stick with one list, right? Stick with one list. There's a ton of foods on here. Stick with one list. Doesn't have to be ours, but stick with one list and utilize that list. That can be really helpful, really important. And again, tons of foods, the high potassium, you probably could fit 1 serving in a day at minimum, still be pretty safe. But again, talk with your doctor dietitian about that if you're not sure. Okay, so let's talk about what you can do. Hopefully cleared up all those misconceptions. About 6 months ago, I sat down and I thought about, for our practice, I know we're unique in what we do. I love how we work. I love the dietitians that work with us. And I was like, what is it about how we work that I think is really awesome? Like, I just want to put that together because we're working in a certain way. I want to put that together. This is not a fancy name, but we call it our kidney health method. And basically what that comes down to us on how you really get to that point of the individual is being able to understand first, I call it the roots and rocks, understand the root causes of the disease, and also the rocks, meaning the things that are heavy, weighing down, the barriers that are preventing someone from getting progress. So an example of a root cause would be an autoimmune disease. There is either the cause could be IgA nephropathy, but the root of the IgA nephropathy could be a major dysbiosis in the gut. It could be, an imbalance of the immune system, and obviously an imbalance of the immune system, but what's driving that imbalance is what we're looking for on a root side of things. For rocks, that could be, for example, you could be on an incredible, what you consider healthy diet, targeting a whole bunch of things, but if you have crazy amounts of protein, that's a rock, right? That is a rock that will hold you back from kidney success if you're at later stages in particular. Something that's a little bit heavy. So this is something that we flesh out. This is where we start. We have to understand your story, get to know about you so that we can put together a prioritized plan for you on what you need to know, what you need to focus on. We're all human. We can't focus on everything and be successful. So we start there. Then we like to dig into knowing what to eat. Obviously, you have to have the knowledge and the why, so you can create a habit behind it. So we teach you what to eat. It's based again on your individual picture, your roots, your rocks, your stage of kidney disease, and your diagnosis. Then we promote a mindset for health. Nicole is just an incredible mindset coach, but we build this into our visits. We tell our patients on the very first visit, we have the ground rules, and we say one of our ground rules is that we're going to talk about kidney health, not kidney disease. We believe in focusing on kidney health, not just always fighting kidney disease. We believe in choosing, not cheating. And we want you to be knowledgeable about your choices. So we believe in this mindset. People that really want to leverage this piece, they can work with Nicole. Their dietitians has some tools at their disposal as well. There was actually a study I was just reading about this the other day in 2017 at the British Medical Journal, which is very, very well respected. A group of some of the physician scientists requested and put out a paper on the importance of mindset training for physicians, that it is one of the pillar pieces of improvement. And one of those doctors, Dr. Crum, actually done some research on nutrition in particular, that they had a diet that people ate, and the people's perception of the food changed how the food impacted them. Like just their perception of it, whether it was indulgent or going to harm them. Really, really important. And I think food fear is not a stranger in the kidney world. So big piece for us. It's one thing to know what to do. It's another thing to know how. So we have lots of tools, not only on, food tracking, meal planning, but for people that need to dig a level deeper and they need tools of a community. We have our community built out. Maybe they need the tools of additional functional integrative testing. We have those tools on board. So we have a pretty good tool set so we can actually get to the right answer for you. And then the other big piece of our method is teaching our patients to be confident, empowered advocates for themselves. Medical professionals, doctors, they go through so much training, so much time. They should be working for you, and being able to know how to ask them the right questions and leverage that expertise is getting like a really strong team working on your behalf. This is something that we actually have a question at the end of every visit with, a couple topics. What could you talk to your doctor about? And as appropriate, we, kind of game plan with our patients. Or if we need to collaborate with the physician, we love doing that. It ends up being really, really much better healthcare if you feel like everyone's on your team. Okay, so what are some things that you need to know about in order to do this? Number one, you need to know the cause of your kidney disease. Because like I said, different therapies are for different disease states. Some of you may know, some of you may not know. If you don't know the cause of your kidney disease, ask your doctor. If he doesn't know, ask him why. Like, what is it that makes my diagnosis an unusual diagnosis? What is your thought process? Can you just share with me a little bit what you think might be causing my kidney decline? It's a really, really good conversation to have. If they don't have any idea at all, then ask them how you can find out. And maybe they have someone that they can recommend that you work with that has a different focus or a different level of expertise. That's one way you can tap into their knowledge. It's one way for you to be an empowered advocate. Other thing, know your stage of kidney disease. A lot of people know their GFR, it's where everyone hangs their hat. But if you don't know your GFR, if you don't know if you have protein in your urine, make sure that you understand those things because it changes your therapy. The other thing that we'll have patients do when they come in and work with us is they do what's called a space of change assessment. This is something we do in the first visit. We call it a needs assessment, but we really want to see where we're going to get the most impact in the change, right? What emotional capacity, resource capacity, social support, mindset, like where do we need to start so that it's not too much, but that we are always doing as much as we can. A few years ago, my husband got quite sick, and I'm a young mom with 3 little kids, and it was really hard. And during that phase in my life, and he's actually just getting over it now, I was not in a space of massive change. I could not have made some drastic changes in my life at that time without a ton of support. And some people are in that situation. Some people are like, hey, I am in a place, I know right now I want to get some momentum. I want to do this. But just thinking about that can be really helpful so you know where you're at. It's a good thing to bring to the table with your therapist, whether it's us or someone else, and you just say, hey, like, I want to do this. I don't want to end up on dialysis. Here's where I'm at. Like, can we talk about a game plan? And you just talk about a game plan, right? You should have a plan behind what you do. Okay, so 3 things you can do to get started. Some things anybody can do right now, today. I'm going to just shift my position a little bit. So number 1, ask your doctor what they're looking for on their labs, or a dietitian, whoever you're working with. What are they focused on? What are they watching? What are the labs that are concerned? If you don't have your own tracking sheet of your labs, your own file of your blood work, or it's not stored for you in AMR, make sure you have that, because trends are everything in the kidney world. They really, really are. Understanding trends is super, super powerful. A great example is looking at your CO2 level. We just talked about this in our community last week when we were talking about alkaline diets. Your CO2 level on your lab, it ranges from like 20 to 30-ish or so is the normal range. 25 is actually about optimal for the research. But what will happen is people will be at like 27, then 6 months later, they'll be 25, and then 6 months later, they're 23, and then a couple of months later, now they're 22, then 21, and it still looks normal that whole time. But the fact that it keeps marching down is really, really significant. And if you can catch it before you hit 18, 19, and you're in metabolic acidosis, super easy to change. Really, really easy thing to intervene with and see what's going on with it. So another thing you can do is you can start with a whole foods plant focused diet. Maybe that doesn't mean you're totally 100% plant-based, but you can start working on being plant-focused at minimum. You can try some more plant-based meals. I don't recommend the fake vegan stuff. I think it's just processed. But you can try some plant-based meals. Peanut butter and jelly, one of the most famous sandwiches of all time, is a plant-based meal. Put some carrots or celery or peppers on the side, and apple. It's a pretty solid meal. So you can start there. There's a really good friend of mine. She's chronic kidney disease, and she kind of a really unusual situation, but she utilized a very low protein diet with keto analogs to improve her kidney disease. But she said when she first got diagnosed, she was so overwhelmed with all the information, and she finally just like threw it against the wall. And she's like, okay, where can I start? I'm going to start by getting all the junk, all the crap out of my diet. And so she started with whole foods. She wasn't eating processed foods to start. And that was a really powerful starting place for her. It does make a big difference. Our diets are kind of full of a lot of just stuff. The last thing is that I really encourage people to start shifting this mindset from disease to health. People tend to champion disease as the thing that they overcome in their life. But what we should be doing is champion our journey of health, right? You think about people call, I remember listening at the beginning of the pandemic, somebody was commenting on how people that want to be healthy are called health nuts. Like it's crazy to be healthy, right? But it's not. It is an amazing thing to be healthy. You know, if you're in spaces that aren't positive, whether it's on social media or, you know, other ways, other places, remove yourself from those places. If you don't feel like you can work in a really good way with the medical providers, find some that really jive with you and you feel are supported. And the other exercise that one of the mindset exercises we utilize is a notice, think, and let go. Anyone can start this today, but there is, and honestly, rightfully so, tons of fear. There's tons of anger, anxiety, frustration in the kidney disease space. And it's understandable. A lot of people just feel like they go through the ringer, no one listens, they want a solution and no one will share anything with them. But you have to be able to let it go because it doesn't serve you past the lesson you learned and the impetus of being proactive. So for me, if I have a situation, and this is what we teach our patients that are really struggling with that, good. Notice that you're mad that no one told you had kidney disease till you had to discover it on your labs one day, or, you know, whatever. Notice that emotion, recognize it, that you have it, because we're human, right? Thank that situation for what it has taught you. There is something in that situation that has been an important lesson for you. Thank that situation for what it's taught you. And then I envision a balloon and you cut the thread, off it goes and you let it go. So those are some things that you can start today. All of them super simple things that you can start today. And I hope you pulled a couple takeaways from before. Okay, so last things real quick. Tools, if you need some tools to start out, obviously we're a nutrition practice, so we have tools. Boy, do we have tools. You can work with us one-on-one. We are a premier expert service, and our packages range anywhere from that first visit at $325 up to about $4,000 if you're doing more functional integrative work. You can pop onto our website. We have our mini nutrition guide, which is free, and it goes through those 8 opportunities, a couple great actionable gems in there. You know, ways to add in iron, how you're going to address your gut health, what is Renal Diet, was some just really solid information there. You can look at our Kidney Nutrition Answers course. I'm going to just give you a little tip here. In about 2 weeks, we're going to rebrand, and this course has been totally redone. So if you want to do this, I just wait for a couple weeks. It's about $37 when the new website goes up, and grab it then. It is solid. It has grocery lists, menu plans. It is a really, really amazing deal. It's a great way for people to get to know us and a good way for us to share with the community. You can learn to modify recipes, which gives you the world at your feet, right? How do you look at the sodium? How do you look at potassium? You can grab recipes from our website too. And then if you need additional testing because you don't know what's going on with you still, doctor doesn't know, that's where we do some functional work. The other thing you can do, I'm just gonna bring this over real quick, is we just launched, oh, that's not the right one. We just launched about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and I think it's still free to join right now, is our PKD and CKD communities. If it will put me in here. Sorry, quick pause here. So our PKD and CKD communities, we do live classes. It's $97 a month. We do support groups where you get to meet with our mindset coach and meet with people in your same situation. We have our learning library, tons of amazing resources. This is our PKD one. So we have a lot of plant-focused keto, lower carb stuff. We do seasonal meal plans. We have a database of recipes, and then some extra perks like access to a gold account with Chronometer, which is one of your tracking tools. CKD has the same sort of format, only it's built for CKD and plant-based diets. Okay, last thing here real quick. Is just remember that in a health journey, there's so much focus on these macronutrients, protein, fat, carbs, phosphorus. There's not a macronutrient, but protein especially. I honestly believe that the true magic in the therapy is in the micros, and it's in the mindset. I think that is just, I can't get past how powerful that is. So if you want to reach out to us, this is our email. You can reach out to us by email. If you want to schedule a discovery call to see if you want to work with us further or one-on-one, you can go over to our website and book a discovery call. They're free. You'll meet with me for about 30 minutes or so. We'll talk about your case and just build out what's going to be the best plan. And then I'll give you some options. Or you can visit our website, social media. We love to show up live and give information. So those are some things to look for right now. Okay, I'd love to, this is our friendly kitty. My daughter puts this one in. I'd love to answer any questions for anyone on anything that's come to your mind. I know we do have a good question here down in the chat. So I'll start with that while you guys are thinking, but please, if you have any questions, drop them in. So number one, how do you work with autoimmune disease and the food restrictions that are needed to treat this, paleo, et cetera, which seems so different from plant-based with legumes and grains? Thank you for that question, Jenny. So autoimmune disease is very, very different, and it's very individualized. Some people need some pretty serious work on food sensitivities and specialized dietary restrictions so we can heal their gut and rebalance the inflammatory response. Other people, we work more from a layer of, let's start with where there are big holes in the diet, such as like, do you have some major nutrient deficiencies? What your genomics look like? What are the, what is your gut looking like? So it's just really different for each person. We are very familiar with elimination diets, and we have a lot of people that come in are already on elimination diets, and we need to modify them, or we just really hone them down with food sensitivities. We do use food sensitivity testing, and it works really good for a lot of our patients. Is animal protein ever allowed? Having a very hard time adopting a plant-based eating. Thank you for asking that. So it is very individualized. So some people really need to be 100% plant-based, but not every person. I think I mentioned at the beginning, plant-based is not right for every single person. But if it is right, you want to know that it's working for you. Some people, they don't feel good on a plant-based diet. They feel really run down, really, they don't feel good. So that's something that we assess with our patients. And again, it depends, right? Our polycystic kidney disease patients, we don't do a vegan keto diet. That is really, really hard. We include some animal proteins in that. And I have some patients, it's not where we start, right? It doesn't have to be the only thing that you do. And that's why I say, like, the most important diet is the U diet, not the renal diet. It's the U diet for you. And there are lots of opportunities. The most important thing is that the approach that you take is going to give you the outcome you want. Because if being 100% plant-based is 100% going to take you off and keep you off of dialysis and improve your kidney function. Anyone can find hacks around it, but it's not for every single person. Not for every single person. And sometimes there's other things. I've had patients who ate animal protein, but who worked on other things, and their kidney function still improved. So it's just really, really individual for the person. If you're not sure where to start, though, that can be a good place to start for some people. How about intermittent fasting on PKD? Love this question. Thank you for asking it. So the research on PKD went like this in the wine slide. The first thing that they did is they did reduced calorie diets for the rats. And what they noticed is that there was some improvement in the cyst growth. And they're like, what they noticed is the rats were eating all at one time, all the food, and then they weren't doing anything. So then they did a specific approach on fasting with the rats, and they noticed there was improvement in kidney function. So then they said, well, is it fasting, or is there a particular part of fasting? And their theory, Dr. Torres is, I really like him. He's one of the researchers on this. Got a great story behind him deciding to do some research just because he wanted to. But then he was like, well, what part of fasting? Is it like that you can get in ketosis? Okay, so let's look at ketogenic diets and PKD. And then that was the next step. So the point of intermittent fasting with PKD really came down to the production of BHB, because then that was the next level, right? I tested BHB. So for some people, that's a good strategy to put in place. We'll do lower carbohydrate diets with some fasting. Fasting's not right for every single person. We have some people, especially women, who that's not the right approach to start with. So it's just very individual, but it can be great. Some people it's super easy and they get good results with that. But it's kind of, like I talked about in those opportunities, you can't only, most of the time, you cannot only do one thing. You have to look at the whole picture to get your best outcome. So really good. I love these questions. Thank you for them. So one other question is, I had lithium poisoning at the GFR of 27. My doctor said that I wouldn't fall then at 34, but dropped over 7% in 6 months. She follows a VLPD with the keto analogs at 31 grams. I don't find much information with medication called CKD. How do you see this in your practice? Thank you, Anna, for that question. So lithium toxicity is a actually kind of more common than not cause of CKD. In that case there, if you get a really, really good functional doctor, you can work through some healing pieces. We cannot do chelation therapy. That's something that we can't do, but I'll tell you what we can support. We 100% can support oxidative stress, which is one of the big drivers there. We also can make sure that there are no rocks holding back on the kidney disease. Remember that we talked about there's root cause lithium poisoning, but even if you address lithium poisoning and you have too much protein, or you haven't supported your gut or any of those other pieces, you're not going to get your best outcome. So sometimes if there's a higher level, like lithiums can be kind of tough, we start with building out the pieces of the therapy that we can 100% know are going to make a difference on your kidney health. And then we walk through potential ideas to talk about with a functional medicine doctor. Conventional medicine does not address lithium toxicity very effectively, in my opinion. So I think you have to get a really good functional doctor. So good questions. Any other questions that anyone has? And if I didn't answer your question, sometimes I talk too much and didn't get to it. Is it normal to have cysts on your liver as well with PKD? Thank you, Julie, for that question. Good question. A lot of people with PKD also have cysts on their liver. It's really normal. For some people, it makes a huge impact for them, a really, really impact, because it can press on their stomach or impacts their digestion. for women with PKD, it ends up becoming, really kind of an emotional thing because they can look, a little bit pregnant. So those are tough things. Right now, it's a little bit early for us to see if the cysts are going to shrink on the liver as much as in the kidneys. This is a new therapy. There's only animal trials on it. We're doing a clinical trial at the University of Toronto later this year. But right now, we just have animal studies on ketosis. All I can say is that we are 100% aware of it, and then we try and work on, if it's a digestive issue that those cysts are causing, then we work from that angle to make sure if people want to implement a ketogenic approach, that they can do it successfully. But yeah, totally normal for a lot of people to have cysts. Okay, Veltassa versus Lokelma, very bad side effects so far with Veltassa. Medications, potassium binders. This is a really important question to talk with your doctor about. I don't have an opinion about either one of the binders. What I do have an opinion about is digging into why the potassium is high. And hopefully, one of the goals of some of our patients on the potassium binders is to get off of it. One thing to know about any of those, and I'm not against them, I think medications are really important and they provide a bridge so you can get to your solution, and they provide kind of alleviating some of the pressure that your body might be under. So I'm not anti them, but I just think that with Veltassa and Lokelma, that they do bind potassium, but they also bind other things too. So if you have bad side effects, you got to talk to your doctor, pharmacist, and maybe try the other one. Or like I said, dig into why your potassium is high. It's a great question to have. Ketocitra, yep, for PKD, that's going to be all over the internet. Ketocitra is a BHB citrate drink. It was made by Dr. Wimes and his organization. I think it is a great product for the right person. I'm not a spokesperson for them, but I will say that they have been an amazing scientist to collaborate with and help advance the PKD research. It's not a replacement meal. It's in the keto research, right? Intermittent fasting, keto, and then they tested, is it just BHB? If we just give rats BHB, will that reverse kidney function? Or improve the kidney function? And the BHB in and of itself, beta hydroxybutyrate, you make it naturally in ketosis, but you can also take it, from a product. They saw some impact with that. So Ketocitra has BHB in it. It also has citrate, which helps avoid oxalate crystals, which is another driving factor of PKD. If your potassium is high, you need to talk with someone before taking it because it's a little bit high in potassium. But and the jury's still out on how effective it is or not. We saw results before it came out, but I value the ethics of the creator and that they're really trying to take their research. They're scientists, and Dr. Wimes honestly is a tenured professor at a really great university. Has no reason to start a company, really humble guy, but he really wanted to see his research move into actual actions. So I think that's incredible. And they're really working hard to change perspectives and proactive approaches in PKD. Okay, I think we're just about out of time. Any other questions that anyone has that I can answer for you before we close up? Okay. Well, I appreciate everyone coming here tonight. We love feedback. I love feedback. If this was valuable in any way to you, or you found some insights, I'd love if you dropped us a note via email or on our social media or on our Facebook page, and just letting us know what you liked about it. If it wasn't great and it didn't meet your expectations and there's something else you wanted to learn, I would love to be able to know that too, so that we can improve it. We do this twice a month. We have a lot of people that come to this, and we really want to make it as valuable as possible. I change it just a little bit every single time to hopefully make it better, but I love getting feedback. So love to have feedback. I'd love to talk with any of you. You can just grab a spot on my calendar this upcoming week. And I would love to be able to talk with you if this seems like something that resonates with you and feels good on your kidney health journey. So other than that, thank you for coming, everyone, and taking time out to learn. And I wish you truly all the best on your health journey. Good night, everyone.